Okay, it's 1:40 p.m. Um, a good chunk of time has passed since the last video. Very tired, a lot of stuff has happened in the last few hours, but I'm just gonna get this over with. This is the last part. So to start with the next book, there is Vampire Knight. I've said this before, it's one of my favorite book series. I can't really say why, I just really like her art style, and it just has a nice atmosphere to it, I suppose. What's next? There's this series, which I've only read the first book. I actually really like it. I like the identity of it as well. It kind of like Soul Eater. It's not similar to Soul Eater, but it has the same thing where it has a really nice style to it. Because some manga series, are really popular, but I don't really care much for its style too much, I guess. Um, wait, let me get the first book. I mainly want to show the first book. This one is Ghost Reaper Girl. This is actually more of a newer series that was made, and I actually really love this book a lot. It's really great. It's the same person who made Rosario Vampire. However, the only thing that sucks is that he was only able to create 4 books due to, I can't remember if it was mental health, physical health, or both. But basically, the series has been on indefinite hiatus, which is a shame. I really love this series. It's really good. However, it has the same thing where, um, I will say that it's not really that original. It has a lot of stuff that I've seen in many, many series. But again, as I've said many times, it's one thing to do something that's been done a lot of times, but it's how you execute it that can give it a breath of fresh air, I guess. What's next? There is the Ayoriyashi books, which um, I really love this series. It's definitely the most relaxing manga I've read for the most part. I would definitely put it in my top 10 favorite series. I'm on the last book, and fun fact, the last book I have of the series is actually one of my most expensive books that I own because the last book, for some reason, is just pretty pricey. And I don't really need to make an introduction for this, but Full Metal Alchemist. It is my favorite manga series and extremely popular among many people. And I will definitely say, with most of the mangas, that the manga to me is way better. Either both the 2003 version and Brotherhood, definitely. However, one manga series that will come up in the end, I actually like the anime a little bit more than the manga for specific reasons, but I'll get to that in a minute. Okay, now, sorry, I was just a little out of breath trying to pick up some of these books. So next up is Tokyo Ghoul. This is one of my favorite manga series also, and I've been kind of stuck in this limbo where I've actually read the whole series twice now, and I have all of Tokyo Ghoul, the sequel. And I did read the first book and read some of the second book, but then I started feeling a bit, I guess, mentally ill reading it for whatever reason, kind of personal reasons on it, but it's definitely one of my favorite series. I would probably put it as my fourth favorite manga series. And just as another note, I have seen the first 2 seasons of the anime, and I just like the manga extremely more. They did some things different, which it didn't bother me too much, but it was specifically the second season that really made me upset. What is next? The Full Metal Panic manga, or graphic novels. Again, this was published at a much older time. Not that much older, but I love the Full Metal Panic series. They've only made 9, and that was about it. It only went off of the story that the anime went off of the first season, but I really love this series. Out of the anime and specifically the graphic novel, I do like the anime a bit more, but at the same time, I do like this series a lot too. The only reason is because even though I don't really watch it for like the major action of it, but at the same time, I think the manga's biggest problem is I think the action is a little weak. I guess just how it looks. It doesn't really look that good, but still it's worth checking out. It's a really good series, and I would love to own much more of the series. Yeah. Sorry if I'm not really talking the best. I'm just very tired at the moment. Just a lot of stuff going on. Let's see. Next is Love Hina, also made by Ken Akamatsu. Again, he made the Negima, and what was the other one called? Love AI? I can't remember. But I read the first book of this one, and I actually have all the books. Yeah, I actually have all the books of this series, because I remember when I went to the store, I didn't really have that many books, and they actually had the majority of all of them, and that was great. Just get that out of the way. And what else is next? Oh, next is this. Just this massive batch. I have all the books. I've read all of them of Roni Kenshin. Maybe it's because I don't really like the last third of this series, but I would say up until the final story arc, I actually really liked Kenshin. I had my things about it where I don't like it as much as Bleach or Yu Yu Hakusho or a lot of other shonen series. In fact, honestly, I wouldn't even put this in my top 10, but that doesn't mean it's not good. It's actually really good. But I will admit that it just started to get pretty boring and just kind of bland towards the end. Specifically, I don't know, it has its ups and downs, but I think it was really good up until a certain point. I felt like it should have just stopped after a certain point. But yeah, alright, time for the last three series, I guess. So I'll just pause it maybe one more time. Alright, time for the last batch of books. First is Yu Yu Hakusho. I said this in one of my previous videos that this was actually one of the manga series that I actually wanted to read the book first, just to experiment reading the book and then watching the show next. And I didn't watch the anime until I finished all the books, which is kind of what I do when I usually try to experiment with this stuff. And this is actually one of the series where I like the anime a bit more. I already finished the anime completely not too long ago, and in short, the main reason why I like the anime a bit more mainly just came down to the ending. Both the manga and the anime does have... The ending is a bit different, but it's different in enough of a way where it drastically changes how I feel about the series. Let's just say the ending of the manga was so bad that not only I would say Volume 19, which is the last book of Yu Yu Hakusho, is my least favorite manga, but it nearly killed my love for the manga version of Yu Yu Hakusho. To not give any spoilers, I'm not going to say anything, but let's just say the anime apparently, and I didn't know this until I actually watched it, but the anime actually knew this and they fixed it in a way where it was so much better. And next up is the Sailor Moon series. This is probably, if I had to discard Twilight Princess as a manga series, which I shouldn't have to, but just because I'm a bit biased with Twilight Princess, this would actually be my second favorite manga series, because it pretty much has everything. It just has a lot of elements I love. It has a lot of stuff with minerals and space and planets, and it's kind of like science fiction fantasy, and I actually think those two combinations are really, really cool. I read the whole series twice and finally tried watching the 90s anime because I didn't really know a whole lot about it. But to my surprise, I was actually really enjoying it at first, but then once I realized the 90s anime was actually fairly different from the manga in a lot of ways. Some ways I did appreciate and liked it, while others I was getting really upset because I was just not really expecting it to be so different. And I pretty much stopped after about 26 episodes. And it sucks because I do really like the show. I really do. It has a lot of things better than the manga, but at the same time, I just didn't really expect it to be that different. But regardless, I would gladly come back to the show again, but I definitely want to read the books. Just like with Tokyo Ghoul, I actually did a very horrible review of Sailor Moon. I had to block it just because I was just so embarrassed with it. I just wanted to show one other thing. I have both of the Sailor V books, and I wanted to quickly just show. This is actually the most expensive manga I ever bought. This book cost me over $30, which was actually quite cheap compared to what I was seeing everywhere else. This one I got lucky, the second book. I actually got this for a few bucks, but it's actually just as expensive. And there's only one more left, and that is Pandora in the Crimson Shell, which the author, well, not, the story is actually the same person who made Ghost in the Shell, which, now I think about it, there's actually a few other things I want to show, but the artist is the same person who did Exile Saga. And I remember this was the first manga series that I never knew existed until I saw it on the shelf at my store. And yeah, I mainly bought it just because, I don't know, I just was kind of curious. This was before I was actually wanting to be experimental, because at the time I was only picking very specific series I knew about. And this was the first series that I kind of went out of my shell, dumb joke, and I actually really love this series. And the series is still going. However, my only problem is that due to the main artist, what's again, Koshi, due to physical problems, he cannot be the main artist since, I think, the 8th book, and the assistant artist that assists him had to be the main artist, and it's a shame because the person's definitely trying their best, and I extremely support them, and I can definitely understand the position. It's just one of those things that's kind of a shame a little bit because the art does dip severely, because the first several books look amazing, but over time it just kind of looks worse and worse. Alright, there's a few other things left. Where is it? Alright, let me grab it in a sec. Okay, there's only a few things left. Oh. How reflective is it? Pretty reflective. I don't think you can see me. But yeah, the Tokyo Ghoul Ari book, complete box set. Have that. Yep. Gotta set it right here. Alright, there's a few things left. Ghost in the Shell, which is a very massive book. I haven't read this, which I was supposed to read this 2 years ago, and I almost did about a year ago, but I've been putting it off for a very long time. But I was definitely interested in the series when I read Pandora, and I'm potentially interested in his other works. I also have this, which is a profile book. Not really a whole lot to it. It's almost kind of like a, I don't know, kind of like a history book a little bit, just kind of showing the series. I was a little upset with it because I looked into it after I finished the series and I didn't realize that it really only goes through like the first 8 books, which kind of sucks. I thought it would actually have more information. And this one I'm very proud of to have is the Vampire Knight art book. I pretty much wanted to get any book from Vampire Knight just because I really like the series. To be able to show just at least a few pictures. Again, I really like her artwork. But yeah, there's dozens of pictures in here. see. Let's see if I find one more. Oops. Yeah, I think the other one's supposed to be like a long poster. But yeah, it's a really cool book. And I think that's about it. So that's my entire manga collection for the most part. And there are a few other books I didn't show off, which I guess I can just get out of the way because I'm pretty much showing like nearly all of them. So I'll just show the last couple and then end it here. Very sticky book. Okay, so yeah, these are the 4 books I'm working on right now. Most of these books, not really most of them, 2 of them I've read before. But these are the books I'm working on right now. That's why I have them in a separate pile. Second 4 Swords book, the last book of Twilight Princess. I've just been having a tough time. The last book of Aoshi, which, yeah, again, the weird thing is that the series is mainly 16 plus, but for some reason this book is actually 18 plus. I can take a guess why. And then, of course, volume 20 of Bleach. And that's about it. Those are the 4 books I'm working on right now. Apologies for me talking probably really quietly. I'm actually really close to the phone, and I can't really talk too loud because I had to make certain conditions to be able to make sure I wouldn't be disturbed so I can do the recording. But that's it now, so I hope anyone that saw this was potentially interested in seeing any series they haven't seen before. And that's kind of the reason why I wanted to do this, as a bit of an archive as well as anyone potentially seeing these series and might be interested. And sorry if I wasn't able to show off the pictures for most of this series. It's just a lot's been going on, and I only had so much time, and luckily I was able to do this in 4 videos. Alright, have a good day, anyone.